Hi friends, today we're going to learn how to draw a cartoon tree. We're going to draw this beautiful springtime scene with lots of nature, with bushes and with clouds and with grass and fish and a sun and a cartoon house. So I'm really excited for this. We're going to be coloring with the colors blue, purple, green, pink, brown, yellow, and let's get started. So to start off, let's start drawing the trunk of the tree. So we draw those lines down, and then we draw some grass here at the bottom where the trunk of the tree goes down into the ground. And now we're going to make this a funny tree. This tree is going to have a smiley face on it. Have you ever seen a tree with a smiley face on it? That would be so much fun, huh? Then we draw the eye pupil in the eye. That's that black part in the middle. We color that right there. There we go. We've got the pupil in the eyeball. There we go. We're going to add some eyebrows. They're kind of tilted up. That shows that the tree's happy. Now we're going to draw the branches on top of the tree. It's kind of jagged because that's where the leaves go. So we're going to do the leaves right here on the top of the other major branch of the tree. There we go. Wouldn't that be so much fun if you could see a tree that had a big smiley face on it? I think that would be so much fun. Looks like such a happy tree, huh? So we're gonna keep on drawing around the tree like this. There we go. Hey, this tree looks like he has an afro. That's kind of cool. Do you know what an afro is? An afro is when you have this big bushy hair on top of your head. It's a cool hairdo, and it's called an afro. So that's pretty cool, I'd say, huh? And now we're going to add these fruit. Maybe this is an apple tree, and there's apples with smiley faces on them. Doesn't that look like fun? There we go. I like our cartoon tree. It's starting to come together. Well, now what should we draw? How about we'll draw some more grass over here. And there we go. We'll draw that over here. Maybe we'll turn this into some sort of water, like a pond or a puddle or something like that. That'd be fun, huh? Let's see, what do we want to draw next? Here we go. We are drawing a fish in the water. You can see the fish has a fin on top, and it has a tail in the back, sticking out of the water. We got a fish in the water. Doesn't that look like a lot of fun? Have you ever seen little fish in the water? Little fishies are so cute. They're awesome, huh? All right, now what should we color? How about we'll color maybe a couple bushes? That'd be good. Have some bushes behind this pond. You know, one time growing up, there used to be a pond right by where I used to live. And at my nanny's house, we'd go in the pond, and there'd be these frogs that we could go and look at. And there are all these tadpoles or baby frogs swimming around the water. And sometimes we'd go swimming in the pond. It was kind of messy, though, because at the bottom of the pond, it was all muddy. And the mud was all silky and smooth and slimy. And I think there was even some leeches, which you don't want to get leeches on you, because leeches grab onto your skin and they start kind of sucking on your skin, and it's kind of scary. So we didn't go swimming in that pond very often, but it was fun to have a pond around. We had to be careful, because you have to be careful whenever there's any water, because little children can drown. So that's why it's important not to go near a pond or a lake or an ocean or a river or a stream without mommy and daddy with you. All right, so here we just drew a cartoon house with a smiley face. Looks so happy. We've got the door with a big mouth, and the windows look like eyes. And we've got this sun with a smiley face. Now we've got some hills or mountains in the background. We've got a cloud in the sky. We've got a pond with a fishy. We've got grass on the ground. We've got bushes. It's looking pretty nice. Even has a little smoke coming out of the chimney of the house. Now we need to add more colors and maybe a few more things to this picture, and then we'll be ready to color it in. Maybe we can draw some flowers. Look at this. We've got a big smiley face flower right on the grass. And then over here, we can draw another smiley face flower. There we go. Hey, that's looking pretty good, I'd say. We've got 2 flowers on the ground. We've got 4 apples or fruit in the tree. We've got 1 sun, 1 cloud, 1 house. Now we have 3 flowers. And we have 1 little fishy. Have you ever seen a goldfish? Have you ever had goldfish crackers? They look like little fishies, but they're cheese crackers, and they're really, really yummy. If you eat it with string cheese, it tastes so super yummy. I really like goldfish, and there's another kind of cracker that are like goldfish, and they're called whales. Whale crackers. Those are yummy too. So we'll color in the tree's mouth with this black color, and we'll color in the house's mouth with this black color as well. Let's see, what can I teach you about things in this picture? Let me teach you about apple trees. See that tree with those fruits hanging from it? Let's pretend those are apples. So, did you know that there are hundreds, probably even more, of types of apples? In fact, people, you know how they make different types of apples? They'll take one type of apple tree and they can cut off a branch, and then they can splice it or put it onto another type of apple tree, and it will mix the 2 types and make a whole new type of apples. So when you go to the grocery store, if you go to buy groceries with your mommy or your daddy, you'll see that there's all sorts of different types of apples. You've got these red delicious apples. You've got these like golden crisp apples. You've got these gala apples, pink lady apples, Fiji apples, or Fuji apples. There's all sorts of different types of apples, and each apple has some different attributes or qualities. So for example, some apples are sweet and sugary. Others are more sour. Some turn brown really quickly after you cut them up. Others don't turn brown as quickly. Some are really crispy and hard, and others are softer. So there's all different types of apples. Another type of apple is called Macintosh. In fact, where I grew up in New England, there were lots of Macintosh apples and lots of orchards where you could go, and there would just be lots and hundreds and thousands of trees that had apples on them, and you could pay some money and go up to the trees and you could pick the apples, and that was super duper fun. So there's lots of apple trees and orchards, and one thing that was fun is when we'd pick the apples, there would be these machines that would squeeze the apples, the leftover apples, and it would make apple cider. Apple cider, have you ever had apple cider? Apple cider is like apple juice, but instead of being as clear, it looks a little bit darker, but it's so yummy. And then we also, growing up, one time with my mommy, we had a lot of these apples, and we made applesauce. We did it by washing the apples, and then we cut the apples into pieces. And then we put these pieces of apples. I think we left the skin on the apples. We put them into a pot of water and we boiled the apples until they were very soft. Once the apples were soft, we would take the soft, mushy apples and we'd put them into a blender, or this little thing that you spin around, and it kind of slices and dices and blends up the apples into applesauce. And it makes it so tasty. It's delicious. And it would make the applesauce pink because the skin on the apple was pink. The applesauce, when it was fresh, would look pink. And it was really tasty. I don't even think we had to add sugar to it. We could add sugar to the applesauce, but I don't even think it was necessary. So that's something interesting about apples, is about applesauce and apple cider, and going to pick apples at an apple orchard, where you either pay for a big basket of apples, or you could pay just a fee to go in and grab as many apples as you want, or pay for how much you get, the weight. So now we've got this wonderful, happy cartoon tree that's brown on the bark. The trunk is brown, the eyes are green, the mouth is black, and the tree leaves on top, the treetop, is also green. And now the fruit, we've got the little smiley face fruits, or the apples, are pink. Pink smiley face fruit. That's cool. It's not very often you see pink fruit on a tree, but I'm sure that there are a few types of pink fruits out there, or light red fruits. All right, let's see, what else should we talk about now? We could talk about the grass. We could talk about the bushes. We could talk about that house. And why don't we talk about the house? We're going to color in the house with this light blue color. And while we're coloring it in, maybe I can teach you about houses, some really cool things about houses. Hey, this kind of looks like the house I grew up in. I grew up in a house with blue siding, blue vinyl or plastic siding. So did you know that houses have different types of siding? Some have bricks on the outside, others have wood, some houses have plastic or metal. And the siding helps protect the house. So for example, let's say you have a blue plastic siding like on this house. When rain comes and hits the house, the plastic on the outside helps the rain to fall off and to not hurt the wood underneath. If it doesn't have siding, the wood could get really soggy and wet and moldy. And if wood gets wet for too long, it can go bad and spoil and turn really soft. And then your house could fall apart, and that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good at all. So we'll color in the eyes with this blue color. And we'll color the door with this blue color as well. Have you ever paid attention to see what color your house is? Do you live in a house that's red brick on the outside? Do you live in a house that is yellow or white or black? What color house do you live in? I like this light blue house because it looks happy. Now we're going to color on the roof here. See how the roof is pointy at the top? That's called a steep roof, or a roof with a big pitch. It goes up really quickly. And do you know why roofs go up like that? Why they're not just the rectangles? Why they look like triangles on top? That is to help water and snow to fall off the house. So if it rains a lot, having a steep roof like that helps the rain to roll off the roof and fall onto the ground. Because if the rain just puddled on top of a roof that was flat, then you could have where rain starts leaking into your house, and that wouldn't be good. And so that's just one interesting thing as well. And if you have lots of snow as well, snow can be very heavy. Let's say you live in Alaska or in the Antarctica. That would be crazy, huh? Imagine if you got 2 feet of snow that's really tall, and it stayed on top of your house without falling off. That could be very heavy, and it could make your roof collapse or get broken. So it's important to have a roof that's a little bit steep and pointed, so that way the rain and the snow can just kind of fall off because of gravity. Ooh, do you know the word gravity? Have you ever heard the word gravity? So gravity is what makes things fall to the ground. When something is denser, it's heavier because of gravity, which means if you pick up a big bowling ball and you drop it, if you let go of a bowling ball, it will fall to the ground because of gravity. So gravity is what makes things fall. If you go to the moon has a little bit of gravity. You still fall towards the moon when you jump up, but if you jump on the moon, you jump up super high and kind of float in the air, and then you'd fall down to the ground. And that's because of the gravity is less in the moon. And do you know what makes gravity bigger or smaller? The bigger the planet, the more the gravity. So the Earth is a lot bigger than the moon. And because the Earth is bigger than the moon, the Earth has more gravity. So isn't that interesting? The bigger and heavier the planet, the more the gravity, the more you weigh. Did you know? Now this is kind of tricky. I hope I'm not confusing you too much. But did you know that the closer you get to the center of the Earth, you actually feel more gravity? I'm pretty sure that's the case. So, for example, if you climb a really tall mountain and you're at the very top, you might weigh just a little bit less than you would if you were on the surface of the Earth. And that's because you're a little bit farther away from the center of the Earth that's kind of pulling you in with gravity. Anyway, that's kind of interesting. So when you have can you hold up your hands and look at them? Hold them in front of you. And did you know that there's gravity pulling one hand to the other? However, it's so little, there's so little gravity that you can't even really feel it. If your hands were the size of like Russia or of the moon, then you could probably feel some gravity pulling them together. But since they're so small compared to the world that we live on, you can't really feel the gravity at all. Kind of interesting. So let's see. Another interesting thing about gravity is, did you know that if you drop two objects where there's no air friction, there's no air in a vacuum, they fall at the exact same rate. They'll accelerate and go faster at the same rate. So for example, if you were to drop a feather and a bowling ball at the same time outside, the bowling ball would fall a lot faster. That's because there's air, and the air kind of keeps the feather from falling as quickly as the bowling ball. But if you put a feather and a bowling ball in a vacuum where there's no air and no air friction, they'll fall at the exact same rate. A feather could fall just as fast as a bowling ball if there's not air friction. That's interesting, huh? All right. Well, we're coloring in these flowers here on the lawn, and we colored in the bushes. We have purple mountains. That's kind of silly. I don't know how many times I've seen purple mountains, but we have purple mountains. We have pink petal flowers with the orange part in the middle, where there's the nectar or the pollen. Did you know that insects like bees and animals like birds will go and they'll sometimes eat that part of the flower in the middle. They'll go up to it and they'll put it in their mouth and they'll get that pollen. And bees actually make honey by going and grabbing a bunch of pollen from a bunch of flowers, and then they bring that back to their nest where they have honeycomb. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's pretty cool. It's really cool. All right, so we'll color in this blue pond here. I like this color. This picture is very colorful. This is a very happy house and tree and spring picture. So kids, I hope you're learning a lot with this picture. We have just a few more minutes to learn, and then we can do another picture. So let's color in this pond here. Let's see. We don't have any birds in the sky, but let's see, what can I teach you about birds? Do you know that birds are very light and that they can fly because they have big wings that push the air down? Wouldn't it be so much fun to be a bird if you could fly in the sky? That would be so neat. Do you know that there's some birds that are just as big as people? There's even a type of bird that walks on the ground that can be big like a person. It's called a penguin. Some penguins are really small, like just a foot or two tall, and other penguins are really big, like they could be like 4 or 5 feet tall, like a king penguin. That would be so cool to see a penguin. A lot of them live in Antarctica, in near where it's really cold, and they live on the ice, and they go swimming in the water, and they're really big, and you have to watch out for whales because whales will try to eat them, or sharks, so they have to be careful. So those are called penguins. Can you say penguin? All right. Well, we're coloring in the sky with this pink color, this light pink color. I don't know how many skies I've seen with light pink, but this is a happy light pink color sky. Maybe it's the sunset. Maybe the sun is just starting to go down and the sky turned pink. Or maybe it's a sunrise, the morning, and the sun is just coming up behind the mountains and it's just a little pink. But maybe it will turn more blue as it gets darker. Do you know that there's a saying on how you can know what the weather's going to be like? It goes like this: red at night, sailor's delight. Can you say that? Red at night, sailor's delight. Red in the morning, sailors take warning. So what that means is that if it's the nighttime and it's red, it will likely be sunny on the next day, tomorrow. If it's red in the morning, it might be kind of stormy that day. I don't know if it's always that way, but a lot of times it's that way. And so that's one way you can tell if it's going to be a nice sunny day, is if the night before it's red at night. Then it will probably be clear skies. So let's keep on coloring here around this tree with this pink color. And one thing I'm excited about is spring. So spring is one of the 4 seasons. So we've got winter, spring, summer, and fall or autumn. And so springtime is when it starts getting warmer again after the winter time. Summer's when it gets really hot outside and really sunny. Fall is when it starts to get colder and lots of leaves start falling from the tree. And winter's when it's cold and there might be snow outside. And depending where you live, you may or may not have all 4 seasons. Some people live in the tropics where it's tropical and warm all year round because they live near the equator. Well, anyway, I hope you've learned something today from this kids drawing picture where we learned how to draw a cartoon house and a cartoon tree. And I hope you have a happy day. Have a good one. Bye-bye.